Jeff Swords. This is my informational speech. It's entitled The Changing Landscape of Orchestral Music. We all know orchestral music. You've heard it before. It's everywhere. Whether it's television commercials, movies, popular music, even in video games. You hear pieces of music like Richard Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries, which I just played for you. However, the way we look at orchestral music has changed drastically over the past 50 to 100 years. We've seen traditional orchestral music decline and give way to these new forms of orchestral music. And there's several reasons for that, and I will get to those. But to know where orchestral music is going, we have to know where it's been. Orchestral music once was one of the most popular forms of entertainment around. In his book, Why Classical Music Still Matters, Lawrence Kramer states, 100 years ago it was the hottest thing on the cultural scene. People longed for it, argued over it, swooned over it. You either heard it live and hot or not at all. And no one had to worry about that musty classical label that we have now. People at that time also understood that it was telling a story, painting a picture, and transporting you to a different place. While this is all still true of the music, other things have changed. Live orchestral concerts are not being attended as much as they used to. As you can see, the National Endowment for the Arts article, Classical Music in America is Dead, in 2014, presented a chart that shows in 1982, 13% of people had attended at least one classical music concert a year. Jump to 2002, that's down to 11.6%. Only a short time later, 2008, you're looking at 9.3%. And a short time after that, 2012, it's 8.8%. So there's definitely a decline in people attending those live concerts. Now, there's reasons why, and I started to wonder what those reasons were. Upon further inspection, I found that the Amati Foundation did a study called Consumer Attitudes Toward Classical Music and Orchestras, and that was in 2005. Now, they included a chart as well. You can look at the biggest chunk of time. The biggest chunk is because of time. People don't have time to go see the concerts. People do have a busy lifestyle nowadays. We also have shorter attention spans for music. When you look at pop music, you're looking at 2 to 5 minutes for a song. Whereas Mahler's Ninth Symphony is 75 to 90 minutes long. And even a shorter work like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony is still a good 30 minutes. Now, that's what I like to call instant gratification music. You don't want to sit and listen to it and invest that much time in it. That's just one piece out of a whole concert. So, a lot of people accredited not having time is why they're not going. Now, the next chunk, 23%, was ticket cost. Tickets to go to see a classical music concert on the low end are $20 to $30, and on the high end are well over $100. So people aren't willing to spend the money to go see it anymore. And finances are definitely imperative to maintaining an orchestra. When orchestras only get less than half of their revenue from ticket sales, they need it as much as they can get. Now, the rest of that does come from donors, grants, and endowments. And honestly, they're not giving as much as they used to either. Financing for the arts has gone down a lot, and that's a big part of it as well. Now, there's a lot of reasons that orchestras can give. You know, the finances are absolutely the most important, but the problems that come from those are less obvious. When they don't have the finances, they lose a lot of their higher caliber musicians. Case in point, when I was attending music school in Philadelphia, the trombone teacher I was studying with, Nitsan Haraz, was the principal trombonist in the Philadelphia Orchestra. Now, in 2011, unfortunately, the Philadelphia Orchestra filed for bankruptcy. Shortly after, Mr. Haraz left the symphony out of necessity and went to the Los Angeles Philharmonic, a more financially solvent group and a more free-thinking, open-minded orchestra. Now, being a more free-thinking and forward-thinking orchestra is very important too. Going back to this Amati Foundation study, you can see the next chunk was people just not being interested. Now that comes down to that they are not playing anything new. 20th and 21st century composers are not being represented like they should be. They're playing the same things over and over again, and people are losing interest. A lot of them do that, and that's partially to blame for the decline. Now, orchestral music, like I said before, is being used today. Unfortunately, it's more of a supporting role for different types of entertainment. You're going to hear it in movies, like The Lord of the Rings. You're going to hear it in The Dark Knight. You're going to hear it in TV shows like Game of Thrones. You're going to hear it in video games like the Mass Effect series, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, and the Halo series. This adds dramatic emotion to the scenes at hand. It creates atmospheres that bring you into the games, the movies, the TV shows. So it is amazing what it is doing. Unfortunately, it's taking more of a back seat. But regardless of whether you're hearing the orchestra play Mozart's Requiem in a concert hall, Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries in an opera house, accompanying a dramatic scene in The Bourne Identity, or in the midst of an exciting action sequence in the Halo video games, orchestral music has been a huge part of our society in one way or another for centuries. And even though the way in which we listen to this music has changed drastically, there's no doubt that orchestral music is here to stay.